You see these numbers right here, folks. Let's talk a little bit about the economy for a moment. Now, I really don't care about, these numbers, okay? These aren't, to me, the real important numbers about where America is in the economy right now. Goldman Sachs posted $3 billion in profits today. J.P. Morgan Chase reported $3.6 billion in profit yesterday. Meanwhile, 500,000 people applied for unemployment this week. Foreclosures have jumped 5%. The last 3 months have been the worst for foreclosures in the history of the country. On Wall Street, pay is up, but on Main Street, they are hurting. What is going to happen when it comes to regulation in this country? Let's go to Barney Frank, who is the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman Frank, good to have you with us tonight on The Ed Show.
Well, thank you, Ed.
The profits on Wall Street. I mean, I'm a business guy. I love profit. But they got back there with no regulation. Is that a case that we don't have to do anything, or does it make the case that we've really got to get some legislation and get some teeth in it to make sure that we don't run into what we ran into before? What do you think?
Oh, it's essential that we regulate. We're in the midst of a partisan fight. Yesterday and then this morning, the committee that I chair voted out some pretty tough rules about derivatives that would force most derivative trading on exchanges and would get some clear look at others. It was almost unanimously opposed by the Republicans. I said we have to do several things. First of all, let's talk about the money that's being made. There are two things we need to do. In August, the House passed a bill. We had passed it 2 years ago, but the Senate was too closely divided. The House passed a bill to put some real restrictions on pay at places like Goldman Sachs in two ways. First of all, you get this cozy relationship between the board of directors and the CEO, and they're each other's best friends, and they have these salaries that are way too high. We think the shareholders ought to be able to vote, which includes some good union pension funds and others. So we did put through the House what we call say on pay, subject that to a shareholder vote. Secondly, the problem with these amounts is not simply the total, but the way in which they're structured. They give them the incentive to take too many risks. They have a situation where if they take a risk and it pays off, they make a lot of money. If they take a risk and it doesn't pay off, they may break even.
So Congressman, how aggressive do you want to be to control that?
We passed a bill in August that says two things. First of all pay packages for the top executives have to go on the annual proxy vote so shareholders can vote. Now, you can't make it binding for a couple of technical reasons, but the experience in England, where we are borrowing this from, is that when the shareholders vote no, they reduce the salaries. Secondly, we have given an instruction to all the federal regulators in this bill, and I hope the Senate will soon pass it, and I know Senator Dodd is working on this, that says you cannot allow any financial company to have a system whereby there is an incentive structure that gives them the incentive to take risks with other people's money. They have to have their own money at risk. If they get a bonus and 6 months later it turns out that deal didn't work out, they have to have it clawed back. So
what about...
There's one other point, though, Ed.
Okay.
One other point, and that is, let's not forget this, we should be taxing these profits.
Okay.
Because we ought to be paying for health care with a surtax on the profits, these fabulous profits of these extraordinarily wealthy people.
All right. What about the talk of a second wave of foreclosures? The last 3 months have been the worst this country has seen.
Yes.
And what about the selling of mortgages and knowing where those mortgages go so they don't spin off into outer space and nobody knows what fund they're in?
Excellent point. There's both what we do now and what we do in the future. For the future, I'm determined that the committee I chair is going to pass a law that says mortgages from here on in can only go forward if somebody is always responsible for any given mortgage for that mortgage and for modifying it. You have a situation now where they all blame each other and they claim they can't deal with it, and the past laws were too lax on that. There's no question. Beyond that, to deal with the current situation, I've been pushing a bill. The TARP money is getting repaid at a faster rate than expected, and we are making some profit on it because we did put in the... Can I finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you asked about unemployment. What I want to do is to take a couple of $2 billion of these TARP profits we're getting and make them available to people who are facing foreclosure because they're unemployed. These are people who got good, reasonable mortgages, and the only reason they're facing foreclosure is you can't afford to pay your mortgage out of unemployment. So I want to take some of those TARP profits we're getting back from the banks and make them available to working people who've lost their jobs so they won't be foreclosed.
All right. Congressman Frank, you know you can always finish on the Ed Show. Appreciate your time.
I apologize. It's been a rough day. I broke my gavel. gavel today, pounding it with the Republicans on derivatives. And until now, I always thought flew off the handle.
You
was just
still
a
got the
figure of speech.
adrenaline going. I got it. You still got the.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barney. Appreciate your time.